One report says that the Lakers, Kawhi is their first choice and Kyrie is their second choice. That's what we said at the end of yesterday's show. We said we absolutely believe Kawhi Leonard. That's what I've been told. What they want to get is Kawhi Leonard. Second is Kyrie. That's not my second. That's their second. Third is Butler. Fourth is D'Angelo Russell. Now, there's other reports saying this morning if they can't get Kawhi Leonard or Kyrie Irving, they're just going to throw a bunch of stuff together with that $32 million. But I thought this morning what is interesting, and this is where it's fun to be a sportscaster and hopefully fun to be a viewer or a listener, there are 5 different scenarios going forward to play with LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Kyle Kuzma. And each has a completely different feel to them. Each would have a different vibe. And I thought, I'm going to give you the 5 scenarios, give each one kind of a moniker or a name and what I think they would be. So let's start with the first. This, I think, would be the best team. It would be Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and the very talented young player Kyle Kuzma. Let's call this team NBA champions. This would be the greatest collection of talent ever. Kawhi Leonard's arguably the best player in the game. If he's not, LeBron is. And Anthony Davis is the most skilled big, and Kuzma's a terrific young player. You'd have, with no KD in the league next year, 3 of the top 5 players. I don't think you'd need an incredibly deep bench. It would have on its best nights an unfair feeling. Tyson in his prime, Tiger in his prime, the Warriors' first 2 years with KD, where you kind of felt like, okay, they're in the finals, everybody's crossing their finger for a twisted ankle. This, I think, is the best possible team. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would call that team NBA champs. The second team is Kyrie Irving, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Kyle Kuzma. I would call that the Drama Kings. I think they would, on their best nights, be the most offensively brilliant. I don't think they'd be as good defensively. LeBron's not the defensive player he used to be, and Kyrie doesn't like to defend. I think they would be very good. I don't think this is a sustainable unit for more than a year or 2 max. Kyrie Irving has bailed on Brad Stevens. He's bailed on LeBron. He'll choose the Nets over the Knicks. He's a hard guy. I just had a conversation with 2 NBA guys 2 nights ago, and they love Kyrie, and they're flummoxed by him. I would call this the Drama Kings. The third team is Jimmy Butler, plus LeBron, plus Anthony Davis, and Kyle Kuzma. I would call this team dynamite. Athletically dynamic, emotionally dynamite, as in implosion. Jimmy Butler and Kyle Kuzma, I think, would struggle. Kuzma wants to be Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's going to try to fend off Kyle Kuzma. You'd have 4 essential forwards and no guards. I don't think the chemistry would be great. I do think defensively it would be excellent because I think Kawhi Leonard's going to take his 15 games off a night and Jimmy Butler won't. I think on a nightly basis, they would be the most consistently stellar defensive unit. AD, Butler, and Kuzma, I think, are excellent defensive players, and in spots, LeBron can be. But again, Jimmy Butler, a third scoring option. This is team dynamite because they would be athletically dynastic, but they would implode. The fourth is the D'Angelo Russell, LeBron, AD, Kuzma team. I would call this the redeem team. D'Angelo Russell back to L.A. to redeem himself. LeBron James redeeming himself after a bad first year in L.A. Anthony Davis proving once and for all he can be a go-to guy past the first round in the playoffs. And Kyle Kuzma showing everybody, hey, I was the right guy of all the young guys to keep. I would call this the redeem team. And then finally, the fifth team. This would be LeBron, AD, Kuzma, and a collection of Darren Collison, J.J. Redick, Bogdanovich. I would call this team the Lakers because this is the team's history. 2 stars, an emerging star or very good player, and then excellent role players. This is what won a title for Wilt and Jerry West. This is what won a title for Shaq and Kobe, several. This Kareem, Magic, several years later, James Worthy, very good role players. This feels like the Lakers I have watched my entire life. You've got two of the top players in the league, one very noteworthy, a Wilt, a Shaq, a Kobe, a Magic, and then another all-time great. And then you have a Worthy, a Kuzma, of an emerging excellent player, and then role players that are very redeemable, very sustainable, understand their role, don't shrink in the moment, have a history of hitting big shots. Your Robert Ory's, your Derek Fishers, your Rick Foxes, Byron Scotts. That team, to me, is the most sustainable. Just enough egos, not too many players that come to the arena every night, no load management, guys that want to play, half the team hungry, trying to get a first ring. 2 or 3 of the guys already have a ring. So in review, we go from the NBA champs, the drama kings, Team Dynamite, the Redeem Team, and finally the Lakers. There's only 2 that I really, really feel strongly about. The Kawhi Leonard team, I think of all those at its best, there's never been anything quite like it. And this team, the Lakers, which is the history of the franchise I've seen. Egos, but not too many mouths to feed, not too many press conferences, not too much drama. I know people who work for the Clippers, and Kawhi Leonard now will interview with the Lakers as well as the Clippers and the Raptors. This, of course, is the Clippers' worst nightmare. The Clippers all year have done everything right. It was the most overachieving team in the league. The front office, you got Ballmer, the energetic, semi-young owner, very pro player. You got Jerry West, the logo, the icon. Michael Winger, Lawrence Frank, smart young analytic guys. Everybody gets along in the organization. The players are, you got your Lou Williams, your old guys. Everybody likes the players. You had the best bench in the NBA. You overachieved, beat the Warriors twice when they were healthy. They've done everything right. The Lakers, meanwhile, have been an utter tire fire for a year. And the Lakers now will get an interview with Kawhi Leonard. It's the power of the big brand, but it would be an absolute gut punch for the Clipper franchise. It would be a gut punch. They have done everything right. Recruiting him for a year. They went to his games in Toronto, making sure he could spot them. You know what this is? This is potentially the Ray Allen shot of free agency. Remember that? The Spurs led the series 3-2. Champagne was on ice. Security had the ropes out. Goggles were ready. Spurs led by 5 with 20 seconds left. They had been the better team in the series. The trophy was in the building, and Ray Allen hits a 3. Pump the brakes. We're going to overtime. Miami rebounds and wins the series. San Antonio never recovered from that shot. They never recovered. I don't know how the Clippers recover. Somebody joked yesterday on Twitter, maybe Steve Ballmer just goes and takes the franchise back to Seattle. Never forget this. With the Red Sox lost to the Mets, remember the Bill Buckner era, the late Bill Buckner, 86. Red Sox didn't recover for 20 years. The next year, the Red Sox were below 500. They emotionally could not recover from that moment. The Spurs could not emotionally recover from that moment. I think this would be such an awful, emotional kick to the you-know-whats. And I'll tell you about Kawhi Leonard. I want you to think about this for a second. He is the most unique player in my life. Think about this. If Kawhi chose the Lakers over the Raptors and the Clippers, he would have destroyed, in his career, the Spurs dynasty by leaving, the Heat dynasty, 4th year, became the MVP, the Warriors dynasty this year, the Raptors' future, and the Clippers' soul. He's the Thanos of the NBA. He literally is. He would have just crushed all these teams. The Clippers' soul, the Warriors' dynasty, the Raptors' future, Popovich's 20-year run, and the Miami guys' dynasty.
Yeah, and Thanos didn't have a whole lot to say either, so they've got a lot in common.
He spoke volumes in very few words. Listen, I would ideally, living in Los Angeles and knowing people in both organizations, I would like to see the Clippers get Kawhi and the Lakers do the LeBron, AD, Kuzma collection of cool veterans, a Raptor feel to it where I got a lot of Lowrys and Serge Ibaka's. Oh, I can't imagine how devastating this would be. How devastating it would be if Kawhi chose the Lakers. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.